Well, congratulations on overcoming dyslexia, the brand new second edition. This is very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a very important book for me to write. This is the second edition. I wrote the first edition, 2003. And I'm a physician scientist, so there have been so many wonderful breakthroughs, and people don't know about them. Or there's a lot of information out there that's really wrong. And as the mother of three sons, I know how it feels when you send them off to kindergarten. You're going to love school, you're going to learn to read, and the kids go and they don't learn to read. And we've learned so many things. I want to share with you. One of them is that dyslexia is very common. It affects 1 out of 5. You wouldn't know that because schools, unfortunately, often don't want to know that. So they don't identify. And I direct a longitudinal study. I'm looking at you, Zibby. I wonder if it was before you were born. It started in 1983.
Oh, that's sweet. No, I was born way before then, but thank you.
And it's still going on. So we have great data. People say longitudinal study, first grade to second grade. We have from age 5 to 40.
Wow.
That's longitudinal. So a couple of the things that we found that are really important. One is that the achievement gap between typical readers and dyslexic readers, you know how early you can see it? First grade. Incredible. And so when we saw that, we said, oh my God, we have to do something. So we developed a wonderful screener. I gave it to Pearson Publisher, so I'm embarrassed they call it the Shaywitz dyslexia screener. But it's very efficient, very economical, and most of all, evidence-based. So that's important, so kids can be screened, and the teacher fills something out on a computer and finds out right away at risk or not risk. So you know, because one of the other things we've done is establish that dyslexia is a paradox. You can struggle to read and spell, but you can have a brilliant mind. And people have to know that. We call it our sea of strengths model, so that we say there's a little weakness in getting to the sounds of words and effects, decoding things, but there are huge strengths in thinking and reasoning and big picture thinking. So when a child is struggling, the natural thing is to think they're not so smart. And the parents worry, well, I thought he was smart, but I don't know, and the teachers. So once a child knows what they have, has a name, and it means they can be smart, very smart. In the book, I should show it. In the book are wonderful stories. Wonderful doctor who couldn't pass his boards. And my husband and I went down to the Department of Justice and met with the man who was the head of civil rights. And they were wonderful. So he got extra time. He passed. And it's so nice. He sent me recently, it's in the book, a card from a patient. It was so wonderful to have you as my doctor. And I make a point in the book that we can't look at numbers. They're not a good measurement of a person. We have to look at other features. Because if you look at standardized tests, they don't predict as well as high school record. So there's so many things. Oh, and this is really important. I must say this. So dyslexia was first described in 1896, and they described Percy. And the headmaster of school in England said he would be the smartest, not only in the class, but in the school, the smartest, not only in the class, but in the school. So it was an unexpected difficulty, but that was pushed aside more recently. So in our data, we've been able to show, and it's in the book with images and everything, if you look at IQ and reading, in typical readers, they go together. So if you're a good reader, you're going to have a high IQ. If you have a high IQ, probably. But are we going to let it stop at that? Of course not. So we looked at dyslexics. And it's so interesting because in dyslexia, let me see if I can find it very quickly. Yeah, page 103. Because in dyslexia, I'm sorry, you can have a very, I don't know if you can see this.
Yep, I see it.
The one that's dark shows IQ and reading going together.
Yep.
The one here shows you can have a very high IQ and a much lower reading. So what we've done is we've worked with some wonderful people in Congress and the Senate, and there's a new law that parents should be aware of, 2018, that dyslexia is defined as an unexpected difficulty in a person who has the intelligence to be a much better reader. So that's really important because there's so much stigma. People think slow reader, slow thinker, and more commonly, slow reader, smart thinker. Charles Schwab, I remember him telling us that one of his problems is he can see the end zone while other people were still going step by step. And then he gives the big picture, and people say, but how did you know that you didn't do A, B, and C? And they get annoyed at him. And so many others. The former head of the Cleveland Clinic, the best cardiologist in the country, Toby Cosgrove, I'm happy to say, proud to say, a very good friend of mine, has the same thing. He can see the big picture. And people have to realize that the people who can't spell right or rewrite can be really, really smart. And what we've developed is what we call the Sea of Strengths model that says you can have a small weakness in decoding, but have higher level strengths in thinking and reasoning and seeing the big picture. So there's dyslexics who are Nobel laureates, who won all sorts of prizes, who are great writers. I don't know, there are so many. John Irving is one of them, Dab Pilkey, children's writers, all sorts. So my goal in writing this second edition is for people to realize the sea of strengths and to see it because the weakness is very concrete. You put the wrong letter there. And I have a whole section on why people with dyslexia, their essays should have 2 grades, one on spelling, and the other on thinking and imagination, which would be a large one. So I think more and more people are coming out and understanding that what dyslexia is and being proud because they know that they're very smart and they can have a wonderful future. And I want to quickly say that there are new laws. As I said, I'm so proud of the Department of Justice. There was a new law passed, the Americans with Disability Amendment Act, and it was in 2009, but it wasn't until 2016, 2017 that the rules, how to interpret, came. And it's in the book. The law is on your side, and it says the word dyslexia. Schools don't want to hear it. They say characteristics of dyslexia. And I should also add, but there are very fine specialized schools. Windward in New York, Park Century in California, where I'm proud to serve on the board, Louisiana Key Academy in Baton Rouge. So things are changing, but I want it to change faster, and it can because the science is there.
Wow. Well, Dr. Shaywitz, thank you so much. You are like the expert and such a pioneer on dyslexia. And given that this whole show is about reading, it could not be more perfect. So thank you for coming on today. Everybody who knows someone who has trouble reading, a child you suspect of reading, who is already dyslexic, this is you have to get this book, Overcoming Dyslexia. Second edition. It's brand new.
It gets confusing.
It's confusing. Completely revised and updated. So get this book. Okay. Thank you so much. It was lovely to see you.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you.